What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's video. I managed to go up to Rusty's house earlier this week and pick up the new floor pans. Now, I was originally going to do original equipment interior in this thing, but I've actually decided to do scat interior. It's basically for buggies, and it has different seat tracks, completely different than what the 73 has. So Rusty had some pre-68 floor pans. The only difference between them is the seat tracks, and the seat tracks have to be cut out anyway to put the scat interior in here. So I've got these new 68 and older floor pans that I'm gonna fit into the chassis. They're a little bit bent. They got a little bit of surface rust on them because the guy that he got them off of, they were sitting outside for a while. There's no rust through. There's no real bad rust. It's just got a little bit of surface rust. I'm gonna sandblast the whole thing anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I got and show you what I'm getting ready to do to it. So hope you enjoy. Okay, so these are the pans that I got from Rusty. The only difference, like I said, is these seat tracks, and these have to be removed anyway because of the scat interior. So, but they have the rear plates. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and clean these up, get them straightened out, because there's a couple places where they're bent. You can see how it, if you look at it from back here, you can see how it rolls up in the front. And then there's a couple spots that they're bent, like right there and right there. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of hammer and dollying on it, which I knew I was going to have to anyway. Plus I gotta work on cleaning this corner right here, because there's still metal stuck down in that corner and I can't get the pan to go all the way forward. So I'm gonna work on this and start getting this thing prepped. Hope y'all enjoy. So for the body work that I have to do to the pans and whatnot, and any of the body work that I got to do to the actual car itself, I bought this kit from Harbor Freight several years ago, and apparently I should have sprayed it with WD-40 before I packed it away, because this shit wasn't rusted. Now it's rusted, so I'm gonna have to clean this rust up, and I don't know, I'm gonna have to do something with that, because that's unacceptable. But I bought this at Harbor Freight. It was cheap when I bought it. It's probably still cheap now, but it does the job. And I suck at body work. I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody know that I am not a body man. I'm a mechanic, I'm an electrician. I'm not a body man, but I try my best. So this is all of my body work has been a learning experience. I'm just trying to teach myself how to do it. But I'm gonna go ahead and try and remove this little excess metal that's down here in the corner. You can see a little bit of it. Get the pan out of the way, and now you can see it. See that little, well, if I quit smoking in front of it, you can see that little spot right there. I got to clean all that crap out. So I'm going to get my chisel and chisel all this out and clean it out the best I can. My grinder couldn't get in there because it's rounded. So that's as close as my grinder can get in there. But I'm still going to rewire wheel the entire thing. But I'm also going to sandblast it before I put the pans in. I'm going to sandblast it, sandblast the pans, and I'm going to weld the pans in. Then I'll sandblast it where I welded again, and then I'll paint it. Alright, so I still got to cut these rear arms off, and then I'll start fitting the pans a little bit better. But I'm going to go ahead and test fit them and make sure they're actually laying flat now. You can see this one's still got a little bit of a twist to it, but I'll be able to get that out when I start welding it. I got to get it underneath all these little tabs across the edge of the body. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cut that bracket off in order to get these things in there. Yeah, I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to get this to fit without cutting that piece out. Yeah, 'cause I have to clamp this shit in. And I mean, other than that, it's fitting pretty good. Let me see how the other side's fitting. That little twist is screwing with me too. If it didn't have that little bit of a twist to it, I think it'd sit a whole lot easier in there. This one doesn't have that twist to it, so I should be able to get this one to slide right in. I gotta bend that corner to get it to fit. But it looks like everything else is gonna line up pretty good. I may have to knock this way a little bit to get it to clear around the end of the chassis. Same on this side, I may have to knock this piece right here back a little bit to get it to clear around the chassis. But I won't be able to figure that out until I actually cut these rear arms off. So that's gonna be the next thing I do. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the 2 rear arms so that I can actually fit the chassis with the pans. Okay, so before I continue with what I'm doing as far as cutting the back braces out, I'm going to take a few measurements on the chassis and on the body so that I can make sure that everything's going to line up correctly when I fit the new pans onto the chassis. So the first measurement that I'm going to take is I'm going to go from the 2 front mounting holes that hold the pan to the body. I'm going to go from the outside hole to this back inside hole and get a measurement there. So get that on the one. There we go. So that is 69 inches exactly. So I had it on 1 inch, so 68 inches exactly from center to center. And now I'm gonna go from that exact same hole to this outside most hole and get a measurement there. This way I can ensure that the vehicle stays, or that the floor pan stays where it's supposed to when I go to weld the pan back in, or when I go to weld the new pan back in. So we get this at exactly 1 inch. All right. And that one is reading at 67 3/4. So that would be 66 3/4. All right. Let's just make sure that it's the same on this other side. God dang it. I thought I had it. cut all this damn silicone that they had stuck on here before I start grinding, because I don't want it to clog up my grinding disc. All right, now I should just be able to clean up where they booger welded the shit out of this thing and get it all cleaned up and ready for the pans. All right, so I've finished grinding right here, got this all cleaned up where the brace was welded in. You can see where the original brace was right here. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more on the top. It doesn't look like they did a very good job when they were taking the old ones out. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. Looks like that side's the same way. So I'll clean that up and then I'm gonna fit the pan. All right guys, so it's gonna start getting too dark to keep filming out here in a little bit. I had to run some errands earlier today, so I wasn't able to get a whole lot of work done to this thing today, but I did get the pans fit. I'm gonna show you everything that I've done, which you've seen most of it, but I started grinding on the pans and just kind of set them in there, see what needed to be ground off, put them back in, see what else needed to be grounded off, and I've just been working them until I got them to actually sit where I wanted them to sit. So now I'm going to show you how they're sitting. I've not welded them in yet. I'm not going to weld them in until tomorrow. So here's how the pans are right now. So I wound up cleaning up this front edge a pretty good bit. It looks like I still need to clean up right here. I need to open up a gap right there just a little bit, so I still need to take about an 1/8 inch off of that. But you can see I had to cut the corners out on here because of the factory weld for the corner on this piece up here. So, but I've got the pan. I mean, it's got this little bit of wave to it, but if I tack it up here, because I'm gonna push in on it when I tack it, because it does need to go in a little bit, but I'm gonna tack it right here, and then I'll push down and tack it here, push down, tack it here, and I'll just keep doing that all the way down the pan. But back here, if I actually push this in where it belongs, it starts pulling the front off because I don't have anything supporting the front. So, I mean, I can show you how it's going to look. But I'm gonna have to tack the front and then hammer and dolly this thing in to get where I want it. And to line these bolt holes up with the measurements that I took earlier in the video. Now I have also measured from this hole to this hole, and all my measurements are from this outside hole, but I've measured to every single body hole on this pan, even including the two in the rear, so that I can make sure the pan is sitting where it needs to as far as like twist wise. And then I've put a level on the chassis, and while I'm welding it, I'm gonna have a level on the pan so that I can make sure that the pan's staying level. So you'll see all that tomorrow when I'm welding the pans in here. But you can see I got it fitting a little bit better back here, but I still gotta, I'm gonna have to hammer and dolly this in and get it to actually sit against the chassis after I get it pulled in, because there's a pretty big gap right here and I want it to sit in a little bit more. But this side fits a little bit better. The back still needs to go in on this side, and it's because there's nothing supporting it out here. The only thing that's holding it up right now is it's resting right here on the torsion bar mount. But this one's lining up pretty good. I had to do a whole lot more work to this one. I had to shave almost 1/8 of an inch off the front of this to get my bolt holes where they needed to be, front and rear. And then I had to cut a pretty good bit out of the corner right here because it would not line up over here. But all things considered, for being cheap pans, and Rusty had them just sitting around, he bought them on the off chance that he might use them. And being able to use them on this car for this build, it worked out perfect. So yeah, I'm gonna keep messing with them, and I'll have them welded in here tomorrow. Well, unfortunately, it's been raining all day today. It's supposed to continue raining all day today, so I'm not going to be able to finish welding the pans into the chassis today. What's up, guys? So it's the next weekend. I was going to post up what I had already recorded last weekend, but I figured I'd go ahead and get the pans welded in and show you the final result after they're welded in. I will not get to paint them in this video. That'll be in the next video. Painting the chassis, sandblasting and painting the chassis, and then rebuilding the rear suspension should be my next video. but I didn't want to do half of putting the pans in, so I figured I'd just wait until this weekend, get them done this weekend. But it's supposed to storm like crazy all day tomorrow on Saturday, so I'm gonna try and weld the pans in tonight and move the chassis inside so that it doesn't rust anymore. And then I'll take it up to my brother-in-law's and sandblast it and paint it and all that stuff. So here's me welding the pans in. What's up, everybody? So I wound up not working on this thing Friday or Saturday. It's Sunday morning. I'm finishing the fitment of the pans. I've got the chassis level, front to back and side to side, and checking the level on the pans. I still got to do a little bit better fitment on the driver's side rear. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you what I'm getting ready to do. So I haven't cleaned up where I'm gonna weld yet. I still have to clean up there, but the pan is basically sitting where it's gonna sit. What I'm gonna wind up doing is drilling little holes through here so that I can do spot welds. I'll do one about every 2 inches. But back here, this piece on this cross member right here is hitting the chassis before I can get the pan to sit all the way in flush against the edge. So I'm gonna have to cut this a little bit to get it to where it'll pull in a little bit more, and then recheck my square from here up to the front bolt and from here to the front bolt, and make sure that I'm still at the right spot. This one I should have right where I want it. I'm probably gonna have to hammer and dolly it while I'm welding it in, because it keeps wanting to slide out when I'm not pushing on it. So you can see it sliding out when I'm not pushing on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one fit, pull them off, wire wheel where I'm gonna weld, spray some weld through primer, and then start tacking them down. One other thing that I'm gonna do before I pull the pans back out of here, after I get that one completely fit, I'm going to take a scribe, and I'm going to scribe all along the bottom edge where the piece that I'm welding to is, the lip around the frame. That way I ensure I know how wide the lip is all the way around the pan. And I'll do it all the way back to that corner, all the way up to here, and then all the way up here to the front. That way I'll know what width I've got to work with all the way around the pan. So this is the tool that I'm going to use to scribe my mark. It's just an O-ring pick that I have in my toolbox for work, if I can get the freaking camera to focus. But it's just an O-ring pick. It's got a real good sharp tip. I'm going to use it to scribe a line all the way around the base of the pan. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start up here in this corner, and I'm going to scribe out this way, and then I'm going to scribe across the bottom that way. And I'm going to try and push the pan in to where I'm wanting it as I'm scribing the line. So you also want to keep downward pressure on the pan that you're scraping so that you actually get good scribe lines on it. All right, now the fun one. All right, so that entire side of the pan should be scribed. So let me see how my scribe line turned out. So you can see it, or you may not be able to see it, but I can see it plain as day. Let me grab the camera and I'll show you what I did. So you'll be able to see, here's my scribe line here. There's my scribe line going up. There's my scribe line going across. So now I know exactly how much of the lip is overhanging all the way across the entire pan. I can fit what I need to fit, try and push over what I need to push over so I can get that gap the same all the way down. But that'll show me where I can drill my little holes to do my spot welds. All right, so as you can see, now I got the pan fitting a whole lot better all the way back. I wound up cutting right here in the corner on both pans, because I actually wound up getting that pan to fit a whole lot better. So I've got both pans fit. I'm gonna go ahead and scribe this one. Then I'm gonna drill all my holes, and then I'm gonna start getting everything cleaned up and primered. All right, so I just sprayed the floor pans and chassis down with muriatic acid, trying to eat up some of that rust. So I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit, then I'm gonna spray it down, get all the muriatic acid off of it, let it dry, then I'm gonna paint it, let that dry, then I'm gonna weld the pans in. So as you can see, the muriatic acid's working. It's taking the rust and turning it into a white powder. So once this all dries out a little bit more, then I'll rinse it and let it dry out again. Just a little FYI, the muriatic acid that I'm using is Acid Magic. I got it at Ace Hardware. Says it's user friendly and it won't like burn your skin or anything if you get it on your skin. But it's working the same way as every other muriatic acid that I've ever used. So, but I picked that up at Ace. It was 10 bucks for that gallon. All right, so you can see it's still doing its work. You can see it's a little bit more powdery, but it's missed some of the rust. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray this off. I'm gonna respray it and let it eat at that rust a little bit longer. All right, now that I've rinsed it and it's dried a little bit, you can see how much it's cleaned up that lip. So it cleaned up everything that I wanted it to clean up. I need to hit it right here a little bit and get rid of that rust. But I'm also gonna spray it with some rust inhibiting primer before I weld. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I just primed everything with my primer that's made for rust. It's supposed to inhibit rust on top of the muriatic acid that I did on it. But I just want a layer of paint in between the two pieces of metal. This is supposed to be able to be welded through. Hopefully it is. If not, I'll be stripping this shit right back off so that I can weld to it. I'll leave it on the pans no matter what, because I've got the holes in the pan so I can weld to that no matter what. But I may have to strip the paint off of the chassis again if it won't let me weld through it. But I just sprayed everything that was raw metal with the etching primer, and it's got to sit for 45 minutes before I can start welding. So I'm gonna let this sit. Hopefully it won't be too dark and I can weld these pans in tonight. All right, so I've got the I've got the chassis primed, I've got the pans primed. Now I'm gonna use my little welder that I bought from Home Depot. I bought it when I was doing my Audi exhaust. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I think I said in that video. But it's just a flux core welder, no gas. And I'm gonna test to see if this is gonna work by trying to fill weld this hole where the bracket was that I removed. Let's see if this is gonna work. Hell yeah. I think my voltage is a little too high. Yeah, all right. So I was able to fix that hole. I'm not gonna fill weld any of the rest of them because I don't think they need it. That one was an actual hole, so I had to fill that one in. But the metal was really thin, so it kept burning through. So now I'm gonna clean this up, and then I'm gonna respray where I just welded right here, and then I'm gonna put the pans in. All right. I should be able to set the pans in and start welding them in now. And my back is absolutely killing me if you're wondering why I'm walking so weird. Dang it. Having a little trouble here. There we go. All right. Now it's back in where it belongs. Everything's fitting the way it's supposed to. I think we are good to go. I just need to hammer and dolly this down in the front to make sure that I'm going to get good contact. And then as I'm welding, I'm going to push down with the handle of one of my hammers while I weld the hole. So I'm going to get my hammer and dolly, which I think is up on the front porch. Hammer and dolly that down and get it flat, and then I'll start welding. All right, so my back is absolutely killing me, so I don't know how much of this I'm going to get done, but I'm going to start welding this thing in. So I've been in multiple very bad car wrecks over the years, and my back is destroyed from that. And leaning over the hood of cars for decades has not helped either. All right. So I'm gonna use this stick to push down right next to where I'm welding. I still got my voltage up too high. Either that or there's too much of an air gap in there. I tried to hammer it down, but it didn't want to damn hammer down. So I'm gonna try and hammer it down now that I got one tack on it. Son of a bitch. That's not supposed to happen. Well, that's what you get when you buy Harbor Freight tools, but that's another subject for another day. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I think my voltage is still too high. Let me see how this goes. Now it's too low. All right, let's try it there. That's a good freaking weld right there. Hell yeah. All right. Now let me re-hit these first two. Very good. All right. Very, very good. I gotta keep this thing pressed over while welding these pans in, so. I gotta keep it over while I'm pushing down on this shit. I wish I had clamps that were big enough to clamp this thing, but gotta do what I gotta do. So, on to the next one. Why is this not working? This is working horribly. That's closer to what I want. I'm almost on the lowest setting that my welder has. Hopefully it'll freaking work. I am not having a good time with this. There, now I'm freaking getting it. I think I figured it out. I've never used a flux core welder to weld in pans. I've only used a MIG. So this is a new experience for me. And I think this thing is way too hot. Alright, I have successfully filled in all the fucking holes that I created. And I've got these front ones welded in. So now I gotta keep welding. I gotta get this welder dialed in. It may take me a little bit, but I'm gonna weld both of the pans in and I'll show you the end result. So I had my welder set to the lowest setting and it was still giving me a lot of burn through, but I got all my spot welds welded in. They may not look super pretty, but when I clean it up, it won't look bad. But I got really good penetration, everything's stuck, so, and everything's square the way that it's supposed to be. So now I'm gonna clean this up. I still have to weld these in, but I want to wait until I pull another tape on it and make sure that they're in the right spot. Make sure they didn't twist just a little bit while I was welding. But everything looks like it stayed exactly where I wanted it, so we'll see here in just a minute. All right, so I just primered over top of my welds that I just finished putting the floors in. The only parts that are not welded are these rear brackets. I don't have a weld going up the side or across the top. My welds are definitely not pretty. This is the first time I've used a flux core welder to weld in floor pans, and I would recommend against it. I would just say use a MIG welder if you got one, because this flux core, I've got my welder turned all the way down, wire speed turned super slow, and I'm still burning right through this. But it could be the gauge thickness of the metal of the pans, but I mean, it's burning through. So I've got my welder turned all the way down. I would recommend using a MIG welder, just because I know I can do it with a MIG welder. But anyway, that's how my pans are looking. So yeah, I'll sandblast them and paint the entire chassis in the next video. All right, guys, so that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed what you watched. I hope you found this information helpful. Like I said in the video, I've done floor pans before, and I've done them with a MIG welder. This is the first time that I've done them with a flux core, and it may just be that I'm not used to it enough to get the welder dialed in where it needs to be, but I found that the flux core welder was getting way too hot and was burning through the floor pan. It was getting good penetration into the chassis, but it was melting right through the floor pan. So, and it could, like I said in the video, it could have been the gauge of the sheet metal for the pans, but I mean, I've done it with a MIG with really thin pans and I haven't had a problem before. But I'm just using what I have available to myself at the time. So, but in the next video, I'm more than likely going to remove the torsion bars before I sandblast the chassis. I've decided that I want to be able to paint behind where the swing arm brackets go that hook onto the torsion bars. So I want to be able to remove those and sandblast and paint everything. So I was gonna leave them in there, but then I saw that I wouldn't be able to sandblast in there and get good coverage on the paint. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out before I sandblast it. So the next video should be sandblasting, painting the chassis, sandblasting some individual small parts, and then possibly putting the rear axle, or not the rear axle, but the rear trailing arms and the wheel bearings and all that together. So hope you stick around for the build. I may take a week off because my back is absolutely killing me. Being bent over like that, doing those pans just took a toll on me today. I was fine when I started this morning, but by the end of the day, my back is just absolutely shot. So I may take a week off before I get back to doing on this car. So we'll just have to wait and see. But like always, if you like what you saw, or if it helped you in any way, please like, comment, share, subscribe, let your friends see what I'm doing, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great one.